From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View with your host, Jesse Tenor.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jesse Tenor. We're now in the final days leading up to the 2018 midterm elections. You've heard from many of the candidates in the biggest races right here in the studio. This half hour will break down the expectations heading into Tuesday night with our Election Eve mega panel. That's just fun to say, so we had to do it. Joining me in studio are State Democratic Party Chief of Staff Taylor Riddle, former State Representative John Burris, State Republican Party Chair Doyle Webb, and Democratic State Representative Vivian Flowers. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So this will kind of be just a, fun conversation, everything election. So I figure since we have seen some early voting numbers already coming in, that's kind of a good place to start. And so is this living up to the hype? How is this going to affect races? What are you guys thinking moving into Tuesday? Who wants to take it first?
I'll start.
There you go.
I think it is so unpredictable. I know the polls are the polls, and I don't think the polls have been wholly consistent, but even though I think we're seeing other states outperform in mega ways, like Maryland, for example.
Yeah, that's huge.
We're still seeing a very significant increase in turnout, and I think with some of the folks who are turning out being first-time voters and voters who haven't voted in a long time, it'd be very difficult for someone to, with certainty, apply the outcomes of the polls for people who have voted in the last 2 or 3 midterm elections to say that's what it's going to be. So I think it's a nail-biter, just in terms of knowing what's what.
And doesn't turn out to, don't people say that that's usually better for Democrats, just speaking from...
I think so.
Chairman Webb wants to take it.
You know, what we see in early voting is that Republicans are turning out in numbers that we have not seen before. We're very pleased with that because traditionally Democrats would be turning out at a higher rate than Republicans in early voting. Now, some of that could be a result of the fact that people are getting used to early voting, too, and are coming to the polls earlier to be objective in that. But we're very pleased with our turnout at this time.
With Election Day being on Tuesday, we're hearing a lot of, closing messages from the candidates. And so to bring up AR2, Clark Tucker is still, of course, focused on health care. And then Congressman French Hill has been talking MS-13 and liberal celebrities, Hollywood. So this does mirror a lot of the prominent races that we're seeing nationwide.
Look, as a Republican, I'm probably not the greatest fan of President Trump. I didn't vote for him, and I've said that at the beginning to say now. I just think if there's ever going to be a Trump blowback moment, Arkansas is probably going to be the last state to see it. I just think at the end of the day, the national party of the Democrats is out of tune with the typical Arkansas voter. I don't think the typical Arkansas voter is ignorant or racist or petty. I just think that generally speaking, when they have to pick a camp, most are going to pick Republicans at this moment. No matter what the president tweets, no matter how I feel about it, I just think when they have to pick, that's what they pick. I think Clark's ran a pretty good race. The emphasis on health care is definitely the right focus for where most voters are. But at the end of the day, Congressman Hill is just doing a pretty good job, and he's not that extreme. No matter how they want to paint him in an election year, he's done a pretty good job for the district. And I just think that makes it a tough race no matter who you are.
Taylor, what else would Tucker have had to do, and I'll let you respond to that too, but what else would Tucker have had to do to close that gap more? Is there anything else, or is this just, we are a red state?
Well, I think if you're basing the gap off the Talk Business poll, I don't know how much weight I would put in that. As you've seen in the past, polls more recently have become a lot more inaccurate. I don't think that poll's reflective of the potential turnout that this Little Rock mayor's race could create. And I also don't think that that poll looks at the competitive state house seats that you've got in the 2nd congressional district that could also drive some more Democratic voters to the polls. At the end of the day, Representative Tucker has outpaced Congressman Hill the last 2 financial reporting quarters, and he's run a really good race that's been on message, and I think it might be closer than what people anticipate.
And if I could just touch on one thing, too, I would agree that Arkansas voters are not petty and don't buy into all of the racist rhetoric that we see coming from Trump and many Trump supporters. However, given that Representative Tucker has really stuck to the issues in a very professional and civil way, it's very difficult for me to hear that Congressman Hill has not been extreme when he really has been in lockstep with Trump on policies, and even with the way that he has tried to associate Representative Tucker with the MS-13. And I mean, a lot of the rhetoric has really been one to incite fear, and really has frankly been racist, and not to the extent of that independent group and all of the fervor that was over that radio ad. But it's very similar in that when you try to paint someone as being supportive of a Mexican gang that has nothing to do with Arkansas, and then there's a troll following him, and your commercial pretends as if Representative Tucker is there fighting against ICE, when in fact it was a completely different family supportive event. I think it's very difficult to disassociate yourself with Trump and Trump-like rhetoric, and you're really falling into some of the same, using some of that same rhetoric to benefit you.
Chairman Webb, what would your response be to that?
Well, what I wanted to say is I think that the Little Rock mayor's race is overemphasized. I think if you go out into Faulkner County and you go out into Saline County, you'll see some very hot local races, representative, senator, mayoral races. I think if you look at the turnout in those counties, it's going to easily offset Pulaski. And Pulaski did not have any significant increase in voter registration this time. So I think, once again, the die is cast. I don't know what the margin will be. I certainly don't have a crystal ball, and I certainly could be wrong. But I think the die is cast. I think the people of the 2nd District want to send Republicans, send Congressman French Hill back to Washington to do the good work that he's been doing.
All right, we're just going to put the pause button really quick to take a quick break. And so we'll have more with our panel coming up right after this. We'll talk about the races for State House and Senate. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
The quarter-pound double-stack cheeseburger from Sonic with 2 layers of melty cheese right in the middle. You know what they say, it's what's on the inside that counts. Get a $2.99 double-stack cheeseburger plus tots before they're gone. This is how you Sonic.
Come and enjoy a new experience in shopping for your home. At Aladdin Rugs and Home Decor, we have over 5,000 rugs in the latest colors and styles. Bring your pillows, your pillow shams, and sizes. We will help you select the perfect rug. We're #1 in customer service with 15,000 square feet of rugs, unique home decor, wallpaper, and flooring. Remember, buy today, take it home today, and save. Why wait?
I'm French Hill, and I approve this message.
One candidate is fighting to protect Arkansans with pre-existing conditions and lower the cost of health care. French Hill. So why are Nancy Pelosi's allies lying to us? To hide liberal Clark Tucker's support for a big government Medicare opt-in plan for young Americans, which would cost trillions and bankrupt Social Security and Medicare for older Americans. That's our money. Don't let Clark Tucker and Nancy Pelosi take it away.
Sold it. Daco General Contractors Absolute Retirement Auction, Thursday, November 8th at 10 a.m. 4.4 acres on Highway 65 in Damascus, with an office building, 2 shops, and equipment canopies. And every piece of equipment will be sold, including John Deere tractors, backhoes, trucks, trailers, power tools, and much more. Everything selling regardless of price. Go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it.
What would make Sonic's Golden Soft Pretzel Twist a great meal?
What?
A cinnamon sugar pretzel twist for dessert?
Tell me it has cream cheese frosting.
Consider yourself told.
Oh, thank you.
Get an original or sweet pretzel twist for $1.99. Try order ahead to get happy hour anytime.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. I'm joined again by State Representative Vivian Flowers, Taylor Riddle, John Burris, and RPA Chairman Doyle Webb. Guys, thanks for joining me. And all 100 seats in the Arkansas House are up for re-election, whether they've been filled because nobody ran against them, whether the May primary took care of that, or there are some now that are still going through the election process. There's only one, though, that involves felony charges, and so I wanted to bring up Representative Mickey Gates' case, and I was able to talk to him earlier this week, and he said, hey, you know what, innocent until proven guilty. Having this go on and then him still running a campaign, how should, I guess, voters perceive this?
I think, without saying, just from a very objective perspective, it's not good to have a candidate who's got felony charges, whether or not they're whether or not you've gone through the process of being convicted. But look, I do believe in the innocent until proven guilty. I was thinking back some of my time when I was the House Minority Leader. Paul Bookout, the Senate President, had some charges against him that at the time I did not call for his resignation because of the same premise, even though he was of the opposite party. I just said it's an issue for him, his district, the people that elected him, and the courts. So Representative Gates, I mean, it seems like he's going to, whether or not he's convicted or not, it seems like he's going to have some issues. Now, does he have a right to defend himself? He does. And if he decides to run, which he has, then it's up to the voters to re-elect him or not. And at the end of the day, that's what it's up to the people of Garland County.
I'll probably bait Chairman Webb with this a little bit, but Representative Flowers, I wanted to ask you first, does this just kind of show that no matter what, Republicans just don't want to give up this seat to a Democrat?
I wouldn't say that, because I think that the ultimate decision about stepping down or continuing to run is his. And he is a Republican. He's in the Republican Party, and there's been a lot of rhetoric and challenges for him to step down. The decision is his, and the decision to vote for him belongs to the people in his district. And I'll say that, it is difficult to sit in this seat and answer a question about someone you serve with, because you don't want to kick a person while they're down. And then at the same time, there's right and wrong, and then there's the law, and really that's just what's playing out here. It is within his right to continue to run. He's not required to step down. He made a decision to continue to run, and I think at the end of the day, that's hurt his party. But how much it hurts or has hurt his election, we'll see on the 6th.
Chairman Webb, you said that he shouldn't resign unless he's convicted, but then the delegation said, he can run, he can be the nominee, but we're not going to, back his campaign or anything.
Well,
so what's this been like?
I want to agree with John. The cornerstone of our democracy is you're innocent until you're proven guilty. He is not in a position in which he can cause harm to the institution. It's not like he's the state treasurer who was charged with a crime, and at that time I called for her to resign, because her decisions in that office could impact the financial stability of the state of Arkansas. There is a difference. It's not like a policeman that's been accused of a shooting that needs to step back, okay? So I believe that, I always like going out on limbs, I believe that Representative Gates will be reelected. I believe that the people in his district respect him and like his representation, and should he not be reelected, then his seat will be filled with a Democrat, and the people of that district would have made that decision, and it's their decision to make.
Taylor, what would your response be to his comments from the Democratic Party side?
Well, I know Representative Burris said that he hadn't called on Senator Bookout to resign. At the time I was working for the Democratic House Caucus. We did, in fact, call for Senator Bookout to resign. We also called on Martha Schaffner to resign when that had arose, primarily for the reason that once you're charged with a felony like that, you can no longer effectively serve your the constituents that you were elected to represent. As you saw with Representative Mickey Gates in the 90th General Assembly, he carried a piece of legislation that would have tried to eliminate the penalties that he owes to the state for not filing taxes for over 13 years. So you do see times where people that are charged with felonies do try to impact the laws that they're in a bind with. And so you've got to question, even if he is reelected, is he there to serve the 30,000 people he's supposed to serve, or is he there to serve his own interest? Governor Hutchinson called for him to resign. Leslie Rutledge called for him to resign. Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin called for him to resign. But unfortunately, while I respect Chairman Webb, I sort of wish that you would have followed their lead in that regard, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be about wins and losses. It should be about, can lawmakers effectively serve the districts and the constituencies that they represent. And I think Representative Burrs knows, if you've got a legislator in there that's facing felonies, legislators are going to treat them almost like radioactive material if they sponsor a piece of legislation, if they co-sponsor it, how they push a piece of legislation. So I think it has greater ramifications. You know, I hope that he's able to sort through the issues that he faces, but in the meantime, I think his constituents would be better off if he would have resigned.
Let's get into some of these other state legislature races, because I'm sure we could debate that for a while too. So we did have some candidate debates on the show, just about a handful of them from across the state. But I wanted to ask all of you, what do you think as far as state representative, state senate races moving forward? Which are the ones to watch? Which are the ones that you're going to keep your eyes glued on? I'll start with you, Representative Flowers.
I will say that there are several races to watch in which women are running, and I think that that is one of the changes that I hope bolsters as we move forward in future cycles, any of those races, and whether they turn out to be wins or losses, just to see the increase in the number of women, as well as the number of teachers that are running, given the issues that are playing out now and will continue to play out in our state. I think will be very important to the landscape of politics, whether or not we're dealing with partisan issues in that. I think seeing more women run, and more women run on both sides, will be very important to governance in Arkansas.
I'm encouraged by the number of women. Like you've said, I think we have a large delegation of women both in the House and in the Senate.
You think we have a large delegation?
I think we have a large delegation of Republicans.
Neither Republicans or Democrats have a large
We
delegation.
have a larger delegation than the Democrats, let's be clear.
You can say that, but 20% is not a large delegation
but I'm
to be proud of.
I'm pleased with the number that we have. Y'all need to catch up with us, okay? We've given women an opportunity. We've elected a woman to Attorney General, the first woman elected to a non-traditionally male role. So we are helping women, and I hope success for our brethren in the Democratic Party. But we're going to do our best to continue to elect women. I think there's a lot of races to watch, and we're watching them, but I think when the day ends, the numbers are going to be about the same in the State House and in the State Senate.
I hope my old friend Charlie Collins survives. There's just not a better state rep than him, better person. I know Democrats really got worked up over some of his positions on the Second Amendment. I know it's a divisive issue, but Charlie's a great state rep. He's in a tough district, always has been, and so that's one that just comes to mind that I think he'll win, but it's definitely one that the Democrats have put a lot of effort into.
So you think Garner's kind of capitalized, Denise Garner has capitalized on?
Oh, sure. I mean, Charlie puts
carry.
himself out there, and that's why I love him.
Credit.
I mean, he does, and so yeah, anybody probably could have, but it seems like she's ran a sufficient campaign. That district's just tough, but Charlie's won it. He won a lot of tough ones, and I hope he wins this one.
What about you, Taylor? Any names, any races in particular that you're looking at? I know I mentioned the Democratic Party chair, Michael John Gray.
Yeah, no, he's definitely, that district's in rural Arkansas, and so anytime you have an elected incumbent in rural Arkansas, it's always an uphill fight, but I think Representative Gray has served his constituents well enough, no matter their party affiliation, that he should be fine. I think Denise Garner's obviously got a really good chance of winning that seat up there. Jonathan Crossley, a young guy running in the Sherwood area against Carolyn Brown's got a really good shot. Alan Hughes and Lori Rushing's seat. I actually am going to be glued to primarily the races in Central Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas. I think that there's a lot more that'll be more competitive than I'm assuming Mr. Webb would hope for.
A lot of good stuff to watch November 6th. And when we come back, we'll get into some of the proposed constitutional amendments on the ballot in 2018. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
It's our Man Cave sale at Family Leisure.
First, the seating, theater seats, and massage chairs are priced to move. Next, the entertainment, dartboards to pool tables and everything in between. And the finishing touch, bars, bar stools, and more. Win a free Man Cave. See store for details. Man Cave sale going on now at Family Leisure.
KARK-TV is pleased to be in compliance with the Federal Children's Television Act and provide children's educational programming. Broadcast licensees must file with the FCC a quarterly children's television programming report. This report is available for public viewing at KARK and KARK.com. 1401 West Capitol Avenue, Suite 104, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72201.
Susan Inman is running for Secretary of State. She's got a lot of experience running elections. Her opponent has none. Zero. Susan's got a big idea.
Arkansas should do its voting by mail.
Voting by mail would save millions of dollars and prevent voter fraud by requiring voters to send a copy of their photo ID with their ballot. As Secretary of State, Susan Inman will work to enact vote by mail, making our elections fairer, safer,
and less expensive.
Sold it.
Pulaski County Absolute Real Estate and Personal Property Auction. Thursday, November 15th, starting at 10 a.m. at 9812 Interstate 30 in Little Rock, Arkansas. A move-in ready mixed-use facility with a 3,000 square foot office, 13,000 square feet of warehouse space, excellent Interstate 30 visibility with a daily traffic count of 80,000. Also selling a Mercedes SL560, a Triumph TR6 convertible, Polaris slingshot, barbecue grills, appliances, and a hot tub. Everything is seller regardless of price on auction day. Go to WilsonAuctioneers.com.
Sold it.
Every day the unstoppable, do the impossible. We the undeniable, royalty indefinable. Get 0 for 72 plus 1,000 bonus cash on Explorer, or get 3,000 cash back plus 1,000 bonus cash.
It's our healthy living sale at Family Leisure.
Spas are relaxing, but it doesn't end there. Swim spas provide the addition of aerobic workouts. Saunas are great for weight loss and a whole lot more. Light therapy beds for vitamin D, massage chairs for aching muscles, and more. Healthy living sale going on now at Family Leisure.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. We are back with our mega election panel to get into the issues. Just looking at people on both sides of minimum wage and voter ID, they're saying that these are going to pass, which is kind of interesting since we are in a red state. We could talk about that more, but just for time purposes, wanted to get into issue 4, which would take up most of the time, to authorize 4 casinos in the state. And so let's start with you guys over here. Taylor, what are you thinking about issue 4? What's going to happen with it? It's kind of anyone's bet at this point.
Yeah, like you said, I think minimum wage and voter
ID.
Yeah, minimum wage and voter ID definitely passed. I think the interesting dynamic about casinos is you have people from both sides of the political spectrum for and against. I personally, when I early voted, had voted against it for a host of reasons, but they're spending a lot of money with a pretty good argument that Arkansas loses a lot of revenue by not allowing casinos in the state. And I think there are voters out there that will receive that message and likely vote for it. At the end of the day, I think that it potentially will likely prevail, but I think it'll be closer than most.
John, how did this issue get Democrats and Republicans on a common ground?
Well, because a lot of it depends on if you're a Baptist who's against gaming and if you're going to benefit from the rules as they're written, and this has nothing to do with ideology. I'm mixed on it. You know, I went to Arkansas Tech, so one of the casinos would be in Polk County, and I know.
Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, I mean I know. Yeah, that actually takes on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? And so, you know, I know the local folks are very upset about it, and if I were there, I'd vote against it. But, you know, I think the reality is it probably passes simply because there's just too much money being spent by the proponents who are going to profit from what happens if it passes. And good for them. I mean, I don't say that in a way that implies there's something untoward about it. It's just, it's written the way it is on purpose, and I think they've put a lot of effort into helping it pass, and it probably will.
Representative Flowers, you represent the other area where they're hoping to put a new casino in Pine Bluff.
I'll say that there are a lot of people who are affected by sort of the surface points that are made, but at the end of the day, most people don't know the details. And once they are told the details, once they're given that information, invariably, I stopped a lady today who was going in to vote for it. I told her my 3 main points, and out of 10 that I've been sharing, and it changed her mind and thanked me for talking to her. Investment from outside of the state is wonderful, and it is not uncommon for those interests to write legislation for themselves and focus on their own profit. But don't do it at the expense of us and then tell us it's good for us, and like we have to settle for anything. And so if this passes, we will enshrine into our Constitution the 5th lowest tax on casinos in the country. So they will tax at 13% for the first $150 million of an estimated $200 million, 20% after that. Most casinos in other states, with the exception of a very few states, tax at least 20%, most of them at 25, 30, some up to 60%. And that is because of the issues that come along with casinos, which, by the way, in this amendment, there are no resources to speak of to address problem gambling and other issues that we know come along with casinos.
What side of the debate are you on?
I want to say quickly that I agree with my friend Vivian.
Enough said.
There you go.
I think
and now we're done.
The real concern is that the impact it has on people and what it's going to have impact on families. The only redeeming factor to this, I think, is that there's local control. If they don't want it in Russellville, they can keep it out. If they don't want it in Pine Bluff, they can keep it out. But that's
really
not enough redeeming
control.
Factor. Okay?
But there really isn't local control
So
either.
I agreed with my friend Vivian.
Yeah.
Okay?
So is it fair to say that this whole panel is against Issue 4? Because you said you would vote against it if you were in...
He voted against it. He would. I hope you still have time to vote.
If I lived in Popeland, Jefferson, I would.
I voted against it.
I voted against it.
Okay. Well, hey, mega panel, thank you so much for joining us for pre-elections. This has been fun. And then, yeah, we may have to do this again post-election.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
And stay with us. We're back to wrap it all up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
When you call with a specific problem, a lot of times before we even make it to your home, we have in our minds what's going on and can save time and money on labor costs.
Attention commercial developers and investors. Lender ordered absolute auction Wednesday, November 28th. 2 choice Lowe's out parcels in Bryan, Arkansas. Seller regardless of price. Go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that's it for today's show. Don't forget, you can now take Capitol View on the go with you. Download the Capitol View podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. There you'll also find each of the ATN debates that you can listen to anytime that could help you make a decision ahead of Election Day. We're back with an all-new Capitol View next week, recapping the results of Election Night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and don't forget to get out and vote.